Good morning to the nation out there, no finish line, on Connect, everywhere, throughout the whole entire space that we're living in right now. I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Tuesday, and I know that it's one of those days where it is past the weekend, but we're far from getting to the new weekend coming up. So we're almost at hump day, so be happy and excited about that piece of it. But I haven't done a podcast in a few days, probably since Saturday, I think, since I've recorded something. A lot going on with work and all kinds of good stuff. So I have a little bit of time right now that I wanted to take to set aside on this Tuesday before I get back to the grind today at work. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today was pretty simple, but it's a very important piece to the equation of where we're at for our health journeys. And that is about forgiveness. Now, one of the things that I noticed, I just in observations, now remember, most of my coffee talks that I go through, whether it's generated from users or readers or viewers or anything like that, a lot of times it's generated from you guys. But what I notice a lot of times is real life scenarios happen and things happen in my life where I can then translate over to something that I can share with you guys that means something to me, that has oomph behind it, and we can really kind of navigate and learn something from it. So one of the things that I noticed is a coworker of mine yesterday. We were on a ride day together, and we were going doing our things or whatever. And I got to one of the locations that I was there, and one of the employees that I was working with yesterday was sitting there talking about their own self and their own journey, and they had asked me some questions about my weight loss and different things like that. And we were just having a great conversation, just in dialogue, personal dialogue that we were having, nothing business related, right? And the associate had talked a little bit about their own journey and how bad they were beating themselves up over the mistakes that they made in their life or the mistakes that they made in the past. And they just kept on going down the road of just negativity and really not really leaning in on anything positive in their life. And so I'm listening to this conversation, and I add some color and I add some value to it, and I'm talking a little bit more about you have to forgive the things that you've done in the past and really move forward, or forgive the things you've done in the past and then also use it as a learning piece for you to be able to move forward, right? So not only forgiving yourself, but also taking a look at the situation and then using it as something to, as we said the other day, as your encyclopedia, or you're writing your playbook or your manual for what you wanted to do in your life. So had that conversation, was walking around the store, kind of checking on things, seeing if things were stocked right and those kind of things, and just moseying around. And then I heard this individual, this associate, talking to their family member on the phone. It sounded like they were talking to their child on the phone. And the amount of compassion, love, and just overall sympathy that the mother was giving to their child was amazing. It was just so heartwarming. Just you could just feel the amount of love that was being shared on the phone, because the child had gone through something, or something had been going on at home or whatever. And so her response was very just tender and heartwarming and caring. So she hung up the phone, and we were sitting there talking and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just kind of moseying around, but it's really sticking in my brain, because now I'm thinking to myself, why in the world does she talk to her child in a way that's so compassionate, so loving, so caring, and just so inviting? And it just felt like it was my own mother talking to me as a child when I was going through something tough or whatever. And you could just feel that motherly instinct. But the second that she started talking about herself, it was negativity. It was gross words. It was things like, I'm such a fool. I shouldn't have, whatever relationship that I was a part of, I just ate whatever I wanted to. I didn't really think about this when I was a little bit younger. I didn't, and all kinds of words about not forgiving herself. Now, why is that? What do you think the reason that we can immediately turn the burners on and forgive someone else, or forgive our child, or whatever situation that you might be in, and forgive a loved one, or forgive somebody for things that they've done in the past, so much more willing than you are to forgive yourself? I mean, we really, truly sometimes have a really difficult time forgiving ourselves for the things that we've done in our past. It's almost like we use it like whatever journey that we're going on, whatever things that we've been through in our past, and we look at that almost to be that we want to forget whatever happened in our past. Just kind of shut it down, check it at the door, don't really think about it, just move on. But we don't really evaluate that. We don't really analyze a lot of those things because sometimes it is a forgetful situation. We've talked about this on Coffee Talk before, where people have either shut it down or they can actually learn from it. So in all actuality, first step is forgive yourself for the things that you've done. Forgive yourself for the way you've treated yourself. Forgive yourself for the way that you respond to situations by eating or by, whatever direction that you go in life. You have to forgive yourself for the actions that you have, because that's the first step. Now, it's hard. It's so much easier said than done. Again, we talk about all the time about human nature. We talk about us being our own worst critic. We talk about the standards being set so high of us as children or in society that sometimes we beat ourselves up because we can't meet those standards. And then we also have a really hard time looking at the mistakes that we've made in the past as learning situations and not just as mistakes. I had a conversation the other day. I was talking to somebody about relationships. And one of the questions that they asked me was, you've been together with your wife for 15 years. You've been really married to your wife for 15 years, but you've been together for like 18. And the real question is that how do you make it work? And I said, there's no secret formula, to be honest with you. It's give, it's take, it's communication, it's bending, it's flexing, it's being able to navigate life in a way that's not so rigid, right? But guess how we learned to be that way? It's because of our previous relationships and our earlier parts of our marriage. We learned to be that way based on the mistakes that we made in the past. We're not so rigid and so focused on the fact that I'm the right one and you're wrong. Or we're not so focused and so rigid on the fact that I'm going to prove myself to you or prove that I am the correct one here. No, much differently than that, what we do is we sit down and we communicate, we talk. It may really, really stink at the time that I'm having a conversation with my significant other when I know in my heart of hearts I'm right here. But sometimes it just takes that engagement of a conversation to say, you know what, I didn't think about it that way. Oof, sometimes that's so tough. I know it's gotten me in trouble many times in my lifetime because I have literally wanted to be the champ, the fighter, the aggressor, the one that says, nope, I'm right here. You're wrong. I'm from Massachusetts. Listen, a lot of times we don't admit the fact that we're wrong. And we just keep on plugging through and we just kind of break out that attitude, that those cars and those yards to be able to show people that we're right, even if we are wrong in whatever situation. So throughout my journey in life, I've learned that you can get so much more accomplished by being a little bit more flexible and a little more forgiving of yourself, then learning from those situations that you're forgiving yourself for. That's the other key. You can forgive yourself all you want to, right? So a lot of people will say, I don't want to have that guilty feeling of diving into that Boston cream pie, right? And that's what my driving force is that I'm not going to have that guilty feeling again. That's what I'm not going to do. I don't want to have that feeling anymore. And the situation is that that's what they want to use as their driving force to stop doing that. Well, if you just go forgive yourself and say, I'm going to eat that Boston cream pie, okay, I'm good to go, and then move on. Did you really learn anything from that? Did you learn that, one, it may be okay to have a snack? It may be okay to have a slice of Boston cream pie. It is okay to have that. It's okay to live your life, right? Or did you eat the whole entire thing, go through a binge, and then did you not even reflect on what you learned from that situation? And jot those notes down to say, this is why I did what I did. This is why I binged on that Boston cream pie. This is how I was focused. This is what I was learning in that situation. Because every single situation that we go through in life is a learning situation. You should always have your thinking cap and your learning caps on. Because if we're not learning and we're not growing, then we're dying. mean, it's pretty simple. You have to be continuously trying to grow yourself, continuously trying to be better than you were yesterday. And one of those ways is through forgiveness and learning from the situation that you've forgiven yourself for. Two simple concepts, yet not so simple, because human nature is not wired that way. Human nature is wired that we are our own worst critic. We beat ourselves up so bad sometimes that it's just atrocious. If we would talk to other people the way that we talk to ourselves, we probably would get punched in the mouth sometimes. I know I would. I mean, if I looked at myself in the mirror and I said the things that I say to myself sometimes if I'm having a bad day, if I said that to anybody else, if my wife said, "How does this outfit look on me?" You think we'd be married for 15 years? I don't think so. She'd probably have 3 backhands right across my face and a horseshoe clubbed right over my head, because literally it's such a bad, toxic way of doing it. And if you can't forgive yourself, here's the other piece. If you can't forgive yourself, I'm always talking about soul food and always talking about investing in your heart. If you can't find yourself at the point where you can at least forgive yourself a little bit, it doesn't have to be fully, because if you're not used to doing that, it takes work, it takes effort, it takes practice. But if you are not going to forgive yourself, that becomes such a toxic situation. It really does. Because I know I've been there. And the only reason I share that, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm nothing like that. I'm just a dude that likes to eat burgers and have beers with my boys. And at the end of the day, I just know what works for me. And I have to have these moments where I have to forgive myself for the things that I do. Sometimes if I go and I binge, or I go out with my friends and I eat a little bit too much, I can't totally engulf myself and beat myself up so bad about it. I also can't if I go into the center and I sit down and I get on my scale and I'm up 2 pounds or I'm up 1.5 pounds. Am I letting that scale run my whole entire life? Am I being somebody that just can't forgive myself over the fact that I might have made a couple bad decisions, or I might have worked really hard but not really realized that water retention or some of the workout regimen has really affected my weight this week? That's forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself. You have to not harp on the fact that we are imperfect, and our imperfections make us perfect. We talk about it all the time. So today, think about that. How are you talking to yourself compared to how you talk to the ones that you love? And if you can't talk to yourself in the same exact fashion, or somewhat like that, and start to turn that curve a little bit, just a little bit to the right, to be able to say to yourself, I need to be kinder to myself and I need to forgive myself for the things that I do sometimes. And if you can't do that, work on incremental amounts, small little things, 1 or 2 little items that you can tell yourself that is going to help you and put you in a better place to succeed in the future. So, forgiveness, and then learn from the things that you are forgiving yourself for. Have a great day, everybody.